Back this week on a Friday, October 4th, 2019, continuing the introduction to HTML or Hypertext Markup Language. Last week we did some basic structure of a HTML page and some basic formatting or tags and links and images. This week we're going to continue with some formatting like italics, bold, and underline. Next, enlist ordered and unordered links to other pages and tables. I have a link to last week's video, which is done on Windows. This one is being done on a Mac using Xcode. I will go back and forth between Windows and Mac and even Linux, Ubuntu, for people that are working on different operating systems. And the final page will come that for today's tutorial we'll look at when we're done. Next week will be divs and spans, and we will start with forms. Forms are a very big topic, long topic, and it's what you use to submit data to a back-end server, like run on something like PHP. That's a future topic. But we will look at the basic front-end component of forms next week, and probably the week, and definitely the week after as well. So to get started today, we're going to look at some basic structure. And what we'll do is here we'll look at this here is what we did last week. This is the page, and the code is here in Xcode. So we're going to build on that. So the first topic that we talked about was italics, bold, and underline. So let's get started with that. Okay, so to do something in italics, for example, let's take a look at Hello World. Let's say I wanted to put a Hello World in italics. The original way to do it was to use the I tag. And we'll look at the I tag in the newer way, which is the EM. And actually, the correct way to do this is with cascading style sheets, which is a future subject that I will be getting into. So if we come back here and we look at this page right here, I just put the italics tag, and now all of a sudden you see Hello World is italics. Next, we also have bold, or the strong tag. So, for example, let's go back and let's look at the italics, right? I did that with an I, and I said the newer way to do this is EM for emphasis. That stands for emphasis. So if I change that to emphasis and we come back and we refresh this, we see nothing changes, right? That's just two different ways of doing it. One is a little more modern, but the most modern way would be cascading style sheets. So next tag would be bold. And let's see, H1 tags already kind of look bold, so I'm going to skip by that and go to my P tag, and we'll add the B tag for that to make this guy bold right here. And again, we have to open and close almost every tag. That encloses the text that tag applies to. So the bold will be only on this first line, what are you doing this weekend? All right, and then if we go back to here, and we refresh, we see now, right, that's bold. Now again, the newer tag is strong, and eventually we're going to do this all with cascading style sheets. Refresh this, and it's still there. The next tag is the underline, U. Now we can put this in underline here. Let's say I want to underline that one. Save that. Come back and refresh. And oops, go this one here. Refresh, and there it's underlined. Now you can combine these tags too. There's no rule that says you can't combine them. So for example, let's say I want to also underline Hello World with the italics, and I'm not going to say bold because H1 is naturally bold. So we'll just add the underline tag to show how they can be nested. Now these have to be opened and closed in the same order. So the U tag is opened innermost to Hello World. It has to be closed innermost to Hello World. Emphasis is outer, so it has to be closed outer. So that It has to open and close in the same order. Now you see Hello World is underlined. Okay. Now, next we're going to look at something called lists, ordered and unordered. An ordered list is numeric, and an unordered is just a bulleted list. So let's look at both. So I'll come here, I'll go down under sleep, and maybe we'll put a new topic here. Let's say B, and let's say I want it to be underline, because it's a title. Let's say my favorite links. My favorite links. We haven't done links yet, but we're going to do it, so I'm just going to put down the names, and we'll add the rest later. So to start an ordered list, it's OL, ordered list. And we're going to close the tag right there. Each item within an ordered list starts with an LI, which is line item, and that also has to be closed. And let's go here. Favorite one, let's say Google. Eventually we're going to add the actual link to it, but right now we're just going to list the name. Now I can just cheat here and do a copy paste. And what other? Let's say, how about Yahoo? Okay, so that's an ordered list. Now if I come back to my page here and we do a refresh, okay, there it is, my favorite links. That's an ordered list. Now to make that an unordered list, it's a very simple change. I just change the OL to UL, and then I've got to close the change tag also to that UL. And we'll go back and we will see what the difference is between the two. It's not much of a difference. Now you see it's just a bulleted list. That's about the only difference there is a bulleted list versus a numbered list. We're going to add links to that in a moment. Actually, we're going to add links to it right now. Links to other pages. So we're going to do that right now in here. So in order to create a link, we have to create what's known as an anchor reference. That's an A reference, and it's got a property. And that's the reference to where you want to go. And it's href equals, and in quotes, the website. So we're going to give this a fully qualified google.com. And let me explain this here, how that is. Okay, so the reference to another web page starts with an A tag. href is a property of that tag. And the reference, the property is to the actual link to the website that you would type this right in the browser, google.com, right in your browser. Here is the text, a description of where you're going. And this is the close tag, which means this text is enclosed in there. So I'm going to do just this one, and then we'll do the Yahoo one in a second. Okay, so now here you see it's got a link. If I put my mouse over, I get a little pointer right there. If we click on it, ta-da, Google! And then we can do the same thing, excuse me, the same thing with Yahoo. I'm just going to cheat here, copy. That's it. Just got to change that to Yahoo. Everything. Oh, got to put the close tag too. Got to remember to put the close tag, the close A, to close off that link. Let me just show you what would happen if I forgot to do that, because that's a common mistake, a very common mistake. So here we are. I forgot to close off the tag. Let's see what happens. Okay. Now what you see is there's a pointer on my picture, and that's because the link is covering the whole thing. Now, if we had some more text down here, you would see that that happened as well. So let's say I had some text here. Just put a P tag, some text. That's going to make it more apparent what the error I made here. See, now that it says some tag is clicked, everything. So if I click on some text, it goes to Yahoo. That's a bug. I really only want to have the tag on the Yahoo. That's a very common mistake. That's why I showed it to you. So to fix that, I just got to go back and say, oh, I meant to put the close tag there. All right, let's refresh again. And now, some text doesn't have the tag. My picture doesn't have it either. Only Yahoo has it. And there it is. There's Yahoo. All right. Okay, link to other pages. The next topic we're going to talk about is tables. And this is giving you a tabular format on a form. If you work with Excel, for example, those are tables, an Excel spreadsheet. It's the same sort of concept. When we get into databases, we'll talk about database tables. It's the same sort of concept with rows and columns. Tables in HTML are often used to display data that is extracted from a database and displayed on the web page. When we get into the more back end with PHP and MySQL, we'll see how that works. Right now, I'm just going to create what's known as a static table so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so we don't need this text anymore. Although, we probably could just put something in there and say, my address book. Something like that. And again, we can make this a little bit more impressive. Let's go with an H3 tag. All right, so something like that. H3. And here's your address book. So I'm going to start with table tag. And again, all tags have to be closed. So we close it. Now, tables are made up of rows and columns. The tag for a table row is tr. And the tables generally have a header. So the first row is going to have the header. And that's the th tag, or table header. And so let's say name. We got to close this column. Another column. And let's say the phone number. Close that. And finally, email address. Okay. And then we got to close the row, tr row. Okay, so that creates our basic table. That's the first table. Now, for every friend in my address book, I have to create a row. Now I'm using TD, not TH. It's table data. So let's say, who do I have friends with? How about Mickey Mouse? Yeah, Mickey and I are good friends. And Mickey's phone number, I'm just going to make this up. 555-1234. And again, once we get to databases, we'll see how this data is actually pulled out of a database, not hard-coded into the form. And Mickey's email address, how about mickey@mouse.com. Again, close it. The TD closes that column. This is closing the column to encapsulate everything within that column, and TR closes the row. And I have another friend. Who else do I have as a friend? I have Donald Duck. Another good friend. And again, I'm putting in the data, and he's got a different phone number. Let's say 223-4444. And Donald's email address is donald@duck.com. These may be real email addresses, so please don't email people. Okay. Okay. So this creates the table right here. Table, close, open, close. Each row. The first row is the header, and then each row of data of friends that I have. And I'm just looking at this to see if something seems weird. All right. Let's see what this thing looks like. Okay, so there's my table. It's a little hard to read. So one of the things you want to do is add to this here is a border. And border can be of various widths. We're just going to put a very basic border. That's just going to be a size 1. Now we've got it in a tabular form. So you can see it's a table. What a table looks like. It's a very basic table. You can get more sophisticated, and we will get into that a little bit later, particularly when we look at adding back-end stuff. We're going to do that in the LAMP stack, Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP, where you can use PHP to extract the data from the database and actually dynamically build this table, storing all your address book, for example, in a database table, which is something we'll do in a future lecture. That is going to be it for today. Let's go back and take a look. Okay, so the final page, this is actually going to need to be updated. It's not there, but by the time you come to this tutorial, this page will be updated with what we did today. Next week, we're going to cover divs and spans, are an important topic, and we're going to start on forms. Forms are very important. So a form would be used to collect data that you store in a database table and and later on can retrieve from that database and list it in a tabular format like this. So for example, we can create a form to input our friends, their names, their phone numbers, and their email addresses, save it to a database, and then you can bring it back and list it in that table format we just looked at. That's future, not next week or the week after that. It's future lectures. So post comments, please. You can connect with me on Facebook, appjedi.net, YouTube, this is my channel right here, and you can email me, appjedi.net@gmail.com. I welcome feedback and comments. Thank you.